First of all, thank you for taking the time to involve us, and we really appreciate the opportunity to kind of be part of Innovate Armenia. I think my vision for the 21st Century Armenian is probably very similar to what many of us in the diaspora now envision, which is that we're really part of the global community. We're not necessarily just identified by our heritage, although we're very proud of it. We embrace it, but Armenians in the 21st century are not necessarily just survivors of genocide. They really are, vibrant members of the world community, both in Armenia and in the diaspora. The Promise is a feature film that we've been working on for several years via the production company Survival Pictures. Survival Pictures was formed out of the inspiration and resources by a great man, my mentor and dearest friend, Kirk Kerkorian. And we've used the production company to fulfill the vision of telling a beautiful story about humanity, human rights, love, our Armenian culture, perseverance, and survival, which is why we named the company Survival Pictures. And we, have been extremely pleased with the progress, and we can't wait to share it with the world. I think there is a component of all of our stories that revolve around survival, because it's human nature, because of the difficulty by which many of our ancestors did survive. We can't really drop it. On the other hand, I don't think we're entirely defined by survival, and I think that if we did, it would be almost akin to us just hanging around, and I don't think that's what we're doing. I think it's much more about thriving and contributing. We're giving back to the communities that we ended up in. We haven't been just isolating ourselves in those communities, and I think any minority group tends to want to congregate together, which is, I think, great, but I think Armenians do relish their involvement with the cultures around them and embrace it. I think, in my experience, which is probably much more limited than some of the historians that you're meeting with today, I feel like I've noticed a appreciation and a goal to embrace the cultures around Armenians in different countries that they've ended up in the diaspora. In the process of making the film, again, thanks to not only Kirk's generosity, but immense support and encouragement over the years, and the unbelievable team that we've had around us, because it really has taken a concerted effort by numerous talented people to actually bring this to life. I've also been able to come across hardworking, brilliant, and talented Armenians who are involved in the arts, and I think that's been probably the biggest reward has been my ability to interact with so many people that I would have never otherwise met, who I didn't know were working in this field, and who I think, I hope we give opportunities to in the future. So that's the first thing. With respect to the cast, I think that the talented cast has come across stories that they didn't really know were there beforehand. I mean, I think it's, as the individual cast members researched their roles and embraced their roles, I think their eyes were opened, first of all, to how many Armenians there are around them. I think especially last year around April 24th, the 100th commemoration of the genocide, many of the cast members all of a sudden realized, like, wow, there's a lot of Armenian stories right around me. There were the rallies and the commemorations and the acknowledgement from the Pope and many governments. So all of a sudden it became a subject in the news that might have been in the news before, but because they weren't necessarily involved before, they weren't aware of. So I think it's been great to see people have their eyes opened and send me messages and say, hey, did you hear about this? And visit museums and read books and have their have a sense of enlightenment around the subject. I do feel like all of us who have been blessed with a platform to be able to help other people, educate other people, and tell our stories do have an obligation. I think it's an honor. I mean, it's not just an obligation, because sometimes I think obligation sounds bad, but I think it's really an honor to be able to tell stories and reach people using every kind of mechanism that exists in 2016. Many years ago, we focused on books and lectures, and I think those need to continue, of course. But when we write 1,000 books and give 1,000 lectures, I don't know how often we have the same impact as when we use media to tell stories, because it's memorable. And when you move people, it's not about sending a message. We're not interested in sending a message. We just want our stories not to be forgotten. And some of them have been told, and some of them have not. And I hope we continue to open the doors and really start a chain reaction for other people. I think you should have expectation to see a great film. That's really what we set out to do from the very beginning. When I first started talking, not only to Kirk, but our Survival Pictures team, and ultimately my producing partner, Mike Medavoy, and everybody else that we brought into the project, the goal was to make a great film, something that would stand the test of time. So I think that is our hope, that is our expectation. Anything less than that would be a disappointment to us. Having said that, I think beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So everybody will have their own interpretation of the film. Everybody will bring something to the table and have their own personal stories. And I hope that we are able to make people proud. We're in this situation because we have the honor of being able to tell the story. Or if you look at dear friends like Serge Tankian and others, Atta Migoyan, who made a wonderful film called Ararat, I think everybody has their own way of expressing their history and identity through art. So this is our version, and like I said, it's not purely to express identity or our history, but I think in one way or the other, we will do that. And I don't think it's a burden or it should be looked about as a frustration in any way. I think it's really, truly an honor. One of the reasons why I think Armenians pin a lot of hopes on art projects, whether it's a film or a book or any other kind of work of art, is because we are hoping to finally have a voice that has been silenced for many years. And it's frustrating to have endured that for many decades for most Armenians and feel like they haven't been heard. And I think it's convenient to hope that we can do it in one fell swoop, like an elevator speech. But I think I would look at it as a positive. We can't fit in an elevator speech. Our stories can't be in a soundbite. So the more complicated it is, it means that we have a lot more to share. For one of the things that even your institute, the Institute of Armenian Studies here at USC, has been supported by philanthropists generously, and that's really why it's come into existence. And our mentor and financier was among those extremely generous individuals that the world might never see again. But I think that the film is an opportunity not only to give back in terms of telling our stories, but we hope that we will have an opportunity to donate proceeds from the film to not-for-profit causes around the world, including Armenian causes, of course, causes that have to do with education, human rights, tolerance, and it's really an opportunity to do much more than just tell a story.